Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Jaworski, coming to you live from the coast. That's the coast with the from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views and conservative news. And Craig, guess what day it is?
Yeah, it's the day that I thought it was yesterday. And that would be Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready? Oh. Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
All right, Mike, for the audience, I have a confession. And Mike tried to cover for me yesterday. He really did. For some reason, I had it in my head yesterday that it was Thursday. And as a result, my Throat Punch Thursday, I ran the Throat Punch Thursday video. I talked about tomorrow being free for all Friday. Yeah, I was a man ahead of my time, evidently.
Yes, you were. And it called my attention because we've got a new Friday video we're going to be playing. Now, we might be playing it in addition to the original Friday video. We're going to do Friday video we're going to be playing. And I was like, what's he talking about? Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yes, Mike has been very, very excited about our new Friday video, and I'm very excited for him. So, anyway, it'll be a lot of fun.
We might even show it on Thursdays.
We might even show it on Thursdays. There you go. In preparation for Friday. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, so how are things going for you today?
Going pretty well. Working around town, getting some stuff done, moving some, hustling some gun-related products. Making sure everybody stays up to their Second Amendment capacity, and then we try and go a little bit beyond. So all good here. I got some of the fermented juice in the can going on as well, so we're good. Leave that out for 2-3 days, and it's good.
There you go. Good stuff. Well, we're always having a good time, and we're always all down with the fermented juice.
Yeah, we are. Unless you make it in the toilet, that's different.
Unless you make it in the toilet, there you go. Prison wine. Yeah. I think that's the technical term.
That's it. Isn't that an old rock song? Prison wine. Dun, dun, dun. Prison.
As opposed to red wine.
Oh, boy. I think I'd rather have prison wine than listen to that song again.
Okay, I hear you. All right, folks. Well, it's about that time, so let's get into it. Before we do, got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You get yourself an AR, you probably got one of their barrels in the last 5 years and you don't even know it. But now you can get from them factory direct for your next AR, rifle, or pistol build. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best tactical concealed holster on the market, get on over to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want some field gear, some going outdoor gear, some hunting gear, some tactical gear, you can get everything except the gun from our good friends at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors, and let them know that it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent ya. And by the way, it's real easy to visit our sponsors. Just follow the link in the description to this program. There's a link to every single one of their websites. So go there, check them out. Once again, tell them what's up on behalf of the guys over at The Rundown. All right, getting into today's news stories. Got some interesting stuff here. Now, Mike is he's not a fan of the NFL. He's especially since they try to promote a lot of wokeness. The one thing I will say is that, like in Major League Baseball, there are individual players and individual owners who do a lot to promote traditional American values, traditional values. And there's one player in particular who is catching a lot of grief because he has decided to promote some traditional values at a commencement speech that he most recently gave. And I'm going to play a couple of clips of him speaking and let you guys check out what he had to say, and then we'll talk about the outrage that has come as a result of what he has said.
Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. It is only in the past few years that I have grown encouraged to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father, and as a man. To the gentlemen here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the US, and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better. I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur, something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people, young and old, are embracing tradition. Not only has it been my...
So you get the kind of tenor of what he talked about at this, by the way, private Catholic school, Catholic University, liberal arts university, what he talked about. And, you know, everything that he talked about there was consistent with the tenets of faith of the Catholic Church. And a lot of people are mad at it. And the NFL has finally come out, and they've decided to respond to Harrison Butker. By the way, he is the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. But they decided to, you know, talk about it. And by the way, they talk about in this particular thing about women being homemakers. And it wasn't like he was saying women all need to be homemakers. He was talking about how, you know, what the best thing, the most valuable thing that you can do is to be a homemaker. He was promoting it, not saying, well, all women should be homemakers. But anyway, it says here the NFL has responded to Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker's controversial commencement speech at Benedictine College, where he urged women to be homemakers and railed against Pride Month. I didn't necessarily hear that in the speech. The league said in a statement to CBS News that it doesn't hold his views. Quote, Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity, said Jonathan Bean, the Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the NFL. Quote, his views are not those of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger. So, in other words, what they're saying is they don't value men, and they don't recognize the emasculation of men in society, which they're trying to do. They don't believe that being a homemaker is valued, that raising children is valued, that being a mother is valued, or that being a father that's involved with their children is valued. That appears to be the official take of the NFL.
The fact that the NFL has a chief diversity and inclusion officer is just another reason why I don't pay attention to the NFL anymore. It's just done. If that's really what you think is your priority, then I'm out. Then I'm not going there to be with you anymore. It's amazing. He comes out. He gives this speech again to a private university. He has his own employer basically turn his back on him for doing something that he did on his own time. They could have easily said, he's an adult. It's the off season. He did what he wanted to. He didn't badmouth anybody in the NFL. We don't care. Let him do what he wants to do. That's all there is. He didn't break any laws. He didn't commit any vile acts of moral turpitude. Why are you asking us? Leave us alone. Go ask him. Instead, the NFL makes this response, and now the social media world, Greg, the response from the social media world is, oh, well, it's probably because he's gay and he's in the closet. That's the reason. Oh, yeah. He probably did something in college he doesn't want to talk about. That's pretty much the response of the left. He was so efficient in talking about being a man. The only thing they could do to counter that, Craig, was say, well, he's gay.
Right. Well, by the way, just so you know, Major League Baseball does have a chief or director of diversity, equity, and inclusion as well.
And I have not watched a MLB game this season.
There you go.
I watched this.
Well, I will tell you this, and I think just give it a little bit of time, because DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, is on its way out in sports, period. Not in sports, in corporations, period. The only place where it seems to be hanging on is in government. People are recognizing that that these sorts of programs, that these sorts of things, number one, are more about creating division than they are about actually, bringing people together. But I'm just like this. I'm like, so in other words, what they're saying is they don't support or don't agree with or don't agree with traditional, and not just Catholic values. Everything that he stated there are traditional Christian values, right? They are not too far off from what Jewish values. They're right there with Jewish values. They're not all far off with, quite honestly, even a lot of Muslim values, at least things that are taught in the Quran. So I'm like, so what exactly do you stand for? If not, basically I said, all religion bad.
Yeah,
moral values bad.
It's exactly right. Yeah. It's all religion bad. That's what you get.
Yeah, I just think that the more they start chiming in on stuff that has nothing to do with what they do, the stupider or the dumber they look.
Yeah.
Just stay out of it. Stay away from it. Now, this is a guy who was asked to speak, and I have no problem with Buttigieg doing that. And you know what? If he catches flack from the left wing for it, you know what? He's standing up for what he believes. I got no problem with that. I have no problem with people who don't believe what I believe in espousing what they espouse outside of the thing. But they also have to understand that may cause me not to want to watch them. That may cause me not to want to buy their product. And that's okay. You do that. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. And that's like you just made the reference to MLB. Listen, I'm still a fan of the statistics and the game. They haven't gotten a nickel of my money this year, and they won't because of where they are, because of the things they've done. And it's a lot of baseball ruling decisions also. But with this diversity inclusion stuff, hey, one of your giant fans right here, no longer giving you nickels, no longer giving you dimes, baby.
Right. Well, and they don't realize that, once again, the more you get into some of this stuff, the more you create enemies, and the more you lose customers. And you just better be okay with that.
And I like to think I'm their the best kind of customer. The worst for them. Yeah. I absorb their product, right? Yet I give them no money back, and I give their sponsors no money on purpose, Like,
Oh,
hey,
and
let's go eat
I do
here.
the. Trust me, I do the same thing with the NFL. I literally, I don't buy a lot of. I don't buy gear. I don't go to games. Matter of fact, every piece of cowboy gear that I have, someone may have bought for me as a gift.
Yeah.
But I've been to one Dallas Cowboy game. I don't buy the NFL package, but I watch every game. I do watch.
See, I don't watch them. You know what I do buy, Craig? I like to buy the counterfeit Chinese-made products. That'll show them.
So what if you watch it on? What if you watch it like on like on bootleg?
On what?
Bootleg, like the.
Oh, like, no, it's not a matter of that. It's listen. I mean, it's most of the games you can catch on. If you had to do it, you can catch for free anyway. But
Exactly.
It's a matter of. I'm not paying their sponsors any money. Not giving them any money.
There you go. Exactly. All right, in our next story here. Now, we just recently have seen what we're seeing right now is we're seeing on college campuses protesters right and left who are engaging in hate speech, who are yelling and screaming, who are preventing students from being able to go to class, who are preventing specifically Jewish students, who are spewing hate against Jewish students. We saw during the George Floyd riots. We saw during the George Floyd riots that a number of people were once again engaging in violence, and yet they were released, and most of them had absolutely, positively no consequences. But now we know that there is an unequal justice system, and if you happen to be on the right, that you're not going to be treated quite as fairly. And here we have an example. Here, Breitbart is reporting that pro-life activists are sentenced to years behind bars, including a veteran and 2 women in their 70s. It says here, 7 pro-life activists were sentenced to years in federal prison on Tuesday and Wednesday for protesting at the Washington Surgery Clinic in Washington, D.C. in 2020, an abortion clinic infamous for late-term abortions. President Joe Biden's Department of Justice brought conspiracy against rights and freedom of access to clinic entrances Act charges against 9 pro-life activists for the protest, which carried a maximum prison sentence of 11 years and $350,000 in fines. The activists were found guilty in 2 separate trials in August and September of 2023 and have been in jail ever since, awaiting sentencing. The FACES Act prohibits threats of force, obstruction, and property damage intended to interfere with reproductive health services. While the conspiracy against rights, a charge that carries a maximum of 10-year prison sentence, makes it unlawful for 2 or more persons to agree to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in the United States in free exercise or in enjoyment of any right or privilege secured by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his or her having exercised such right, according to the Department of Justice. Now, Mike, I don't know if you've ever been to a pro-life event or a pro-life protest, but they generally tend to be the idea that to call them threatening and intimidating would be a gross overstatement. I'll just put it that way. Generally, there are people who are sitting there. They are praying. They are singing hymns. They are encouraging. They're not yelling or screaming at women who are trying to get abortions. They are encouraging them to look into alternatives or to seek an alternative. Yet and still, in these particular cases, these folks, you have one guy, John Hinshaw, 69, was sentenced Tuesday to 21 months in prison. William Goodman, 54, was sentenced to 27 months in prison, both with credit for time served. That's because they've been sitting in jail. Now, mind you, the Hamas protesters, they were released from jail as soon as they got arrested, if they were even arrested.
Yeah, this is amazing. You've got individuals in prison now, sentenced and in prison for violation of the First Amendment. That's what's going on here. They these are simple protests, Craig. These are not people throwing Molotov cocktails, lighting fires. The BLM style protests. Nobody was doing anything like that. They were standing there doing the normal protests. And I have been to many of these, Craig, standing on the line between the two sides to make sure they kept the peace. And I can tell you from the many times I worked a line at an abortion clinic, is that unless the media or an instigator was involved, 99% of the time it was, like you said, one side holding signs and singing hymns and the other side handing out flyers to people that would pass by. There was very little confrontation or speak between the two of them. You stay on your side of the street, we stay on our side of the street. We're both trying to make our points. That's it.
I wanted to share this. So this is for also on the page. These are some of the people who are. These are some of the people. So you have Lauren Handley, Catholic and left-leaning anti-abortion activist, over a decade experience in the movement of work. So these are some of the people right now who have been jailed. You have an Iraq war veteran. You have someone who, college-educated folks, people who do nothing more than are supporting the right. They're supporting the right to life, and these folks are now in jail. Or let me clarify: they've been in jail. They are now. Once again, they've been sentenced to years in prison. Now, what I'm wondering is, because that in particular, that second one, the right to Something Act. What was it here? The right to the second one, where they talked about the right to be able to engage in law or to be able to exercise their rights. How many times have for example, have they arrested an Antifa protester for keeping or college students from preventing a conservative speaker from speaking on a college campus? Sounds to me like they should be arrested and they should have to face years in prison for doing what they've done.
It's not what this administration does, Craig. You know that. I mean, you might as well be asking rhetorical questions up there. This administration is going to put their political opponents in jail. This is the first true presidency of a tyrant that this nation's ever seen, and this president's not even running it. It's his staff running it. They've got some guy in there they can control and do what they want to. And Craig, maybe they think we could get away with more because we're not going to get the blame. We're not the president. We're just the puppeteers or puppet masters behind the Thorazine pumped puppet. We can do what we want.
Yeah, it's conspiracy against rights. That's what I was looking at. Anyway, all I'm saying is that if you stand up against, if you don't buy into the orthodoxy, to the woke orthodoxy, to the liberal left-wing orthodoxy, well then, too bad, so sad. You're going to jail. That's their attitude. Something's just wrong about that. And here's the thing. If Donald Trump were to do the exact same thing to pro-abortion activists, what do you think would happen?
Oh yeah, it would be cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, that kind of nonsense. If he went after him, he is Hitler, he is Stalin, he's trying to kill everybody and make the country this conservative old white guy stomping ground, as opposed to what's actually going on today, which is the political tyranny and political prosecution of everybody's opponents against this party, this administration's party.
Exactly. But Mike, I'll tell you, there is good news, and that is that, and not in every case is government winning. What we're finding is government is actually losing in some of these cases, and Moms for Liberty has a great example of that. In Davis, California, do you see Davis, California, which is in Yolo County, which is about 20 minutes that way, right? So it's right here near Sacramento. Moms for Liberty was hosting a thing where they were talking about protecting female athletes from males being able to participate in their sport. Well, as soon as they found out that that was what was going on, that was a meeting to talk about that, the Yolo County libraries, basically, they shut them down. They told them, nope, you not only are you not allowed, not only are we going to cancel this event, but you're not allowed to meet here ever and talk about that. Well, they wound up suing. They wound up suing the library in Yolo County. And, well, this is reported in the Sacramento BS, but it is Sacramento B. It says Yolo County settles free speech suit with Moms for Liberty over trans athlete presentation. It says here, Yolo County has settled with parents' rights groups Moms for Liberty over an incident that took place at Davis Library last summer. August 20th, Mary L. Stevens Library Branch library staff abruptly ended a presentation, quote, Forum on Fair and Safe Sport for Girls, end quote, in which members of Moms for Liberty and other anti-trans activists spoke about the issue of trans women playing on women's sports teams. In attendance was Yolo County Moms for Liberty chapter president Beth Bourne and former collegiate athlete Sophia Lowry, who is now the outreach director at the conservative Christian advocacy group California Family Council. During her presentation, Lowry referred to trans women athletes as men. Library staff intervened. Quote, we don't want any transgender females being called male in sporting events with females, a library official had said. If that happens, it's not following our code of conduct, and we will ask persons who says it to leave immediately. When Lowry then referred to trans women athletes as biological men, the branch manager asked her to leave and turned off the projector and the presentation. Now, the only thing that I will say that I have wrong, I disagree with on her presentation when she referred to trans women as biological males, and this is a recent change for me, is referring to them as biological males is giving into the idea that there are other sorts of males. There aren't. Males are biological males. They are the same exact thing. But it is nice to see even Yolo County recognizes that they're losing on this issue.
Okay, now you've said this 3 different ways. What's the name of this county?
YOLO. I've said it YOLO every time.
You said like yellow.
I've always
but
said
that's all right.
YOLO.
It's okay. But we can roll the tape back.
YOLO.
We'll save that till later. Anyway, YOLO, like you only live once. They named a county YOLO. Only in California.
That's
Only
always
in
been the name of the
California.
county.
Always been the name of the county. Yeah. Oh, California. All right. I don't even know what to say about this one, Craig. It just there's so much nonsense when it comes to this. You are what you are, and that's all you are. It's all there is to it. You're male, you're female. There's nothing in between. There's nothing on the outskirts. Those are the two you get. When they dig the bodies up thousands of years from now, they're not picking any of the other 200 genders you want to be. It's going to be male or female. That's what you're going to get.
Well, but Mike,
that's wrong, go to the farm and try and milk the bull. See how it works out for you.
But Mike, what gets me about the whole thing though is they act like we had this series of meetings and conversations where we all kind of agreed that we're going to now expand what being a woman is to include those who weren't born women biologically. Now, the problem, Mike, is we never had this meeting. We never had this conversation where all of us agreed. We're just being told that we're all supposed to just shut up and accept it because they made the decision, whoever the hell they are. I'm like, I get it. Values in a society can change. But One person, one group doesn't get to just on their own say, all right, we're changing everything. We're ignoring science. We're ignoring biology. We're ignoring religion and moral values. We're ignoring every single moment of history, 99.9% of it up until now. We're going to ignore all of that and just do things our way.
Craig, you're of this age. You remember when you'd walk into the room, you'd gauge the conversation, and if there were smarter people in the room, you let them speak. And if there were dumb people in the room, they stayed quiet because they didn't want to look dumb. And you sat there and you learned from the smart people.
Yes.
Well, I blame Al Gore. Well, I blame Al Gore for giving the stupid people a platform to decide
Dude, man,
it's
look,
okay to talk.
Hey, I heard a comedian. I heard a comedian put it this way. In society, there are two types of people. There are people who know shit and people who don't know shit. Used to be a time when the people who knew shit, they talked. And they talked amongst each other, and they debated, and they discussed. They shared what they knew so that people could learn. And the people who didn't know shit shut their mouth and listened and learned.
That's right.
And hopefully got to the point where they knew some shit.
Right. Problem is, Al Gore gave the stupid people the ability for anonymity when they want to make their comments. They get to go into social media. They get to go to the keyboard warriors, get to say their stuff. And that's why we have Throat Punch Thursday.
Well, and part of that, though, Mike, I also blame.
It's going to be a real thing. We're going to be the smart people are going to be able to push a button on the keyboard and deliver a punch to the throat of the idiot on the other side of the internet.
Well, but the worst part, Mike, is that there are a bunch of people out there who think they're smart. Because the problem is, here's the reason why. The internet have allowed the stupid people to connect with one another, right?
Oh, yeah.
And because so many of them are stupid and they think the same thing as the other stupid person, they think they must be smart. They think they must know. The problem is that they lack the knowledge to know that they don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, they have created their own idiocracies. That's what they've done.
Idiocracies. There you go.
Yep.
They've created their own idiocracy, or to say in another way, they have been educated into imbecility.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sack full of dumbasses is what it is.
Sack full of dumbasses. Forgive my French, folks. That's the way in which the comedian put it. So that's the way I decided to put it. Anyway, moving right along. NRA sues Democrat governor over the 7-day waiting period. This is a big one. So in California, we have a 10-day waiting period, which means you actually wait 11 days because most places, they don't do it down to the hour. So they just say you come back on the 11th day. Anyway, put it on the wrong one. Where are we at? Here we go. That's the one I was looking for. NRA and conservative legal group sue Democrat governor over 7-day waiting period to buy guns. A conservative legal group and a gun rights activist have teamed up to challenge a newly enacted 7-day waiting period to buy a gun in New Mexico. The Mountain States Legal Foundation has partnered with the National Rifle Association in a lawsuit filed that claims New Mexico is denying citizens their Second Amendment rights as their natural right to self-defense. The groups allege that the court in court documents that the waiting period in law passed by Democratic-controlled legislature and signed by Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is unconstitutional. And Mike, excuse me, I'll just put it on this: a right delayed is a right denied, and I think that is the statement that I think we ought to be looking at and focusing on here. Once again, a right delayed is a right denied. So what happens here in California, especially since you actually have to do a background check in order to even loan a firearm to somebody. So if I want to loan a firearm to somebody who's not an immediate family member, because they have to wait for their to purchase a firearm, well, in California they have to go through the background check, so they have to go through a waiting period. So it kind of undoes or it undermines their ability to be able to at least temporarily have access to a firearm. Waiting periods, I'll tell you this, what's funny about it is waiting periods make no sense because A lot of gun owners already own guns, and you, by the way, have to go through a waiting period even if you already own a firearm. In fact, in California, I can go into a gun store with a gun on my hip, purchase a firearm, and have to wait 11 days to get it because they're saying I need a cooling off period. It also makes no sense in terms of they want to say, well, we have to have time to do a background check. We have a lawsuit here in California. And when we had them come and testify, they said the average NICS check, less than 2 minutes. The average California DOJ background check, once you get through the basics of everything, it's about 5 minutes. So it makes absolutely no sense to make someone wait 7 days in order to get a firearm.
Yeah, but that's how they play it, right? It's the idiocy of it all. Right, like you said, many places you could walk in with the firearm, have your permit ahead of time, whatever it is, but you still have to do this mandatory wait. It's the stupidest thing in the world. We're getting many of the constitutional carry states that if you have a permit, they'll let you get away from having to do the background checks and or the waiting period. So, right at the same time, still a background check. It dumbfounds me too, Craig. Like you talk about the cooling off. Oh man, I wanted to get a handgun because I was going to go kill this dude. Geez, there's no way I could run him over with my car between. Now, nothing like that could ever happen.
Oh no, they could never, ever, ever. That could never, ever, ever, ever happen.
Yeah.
I just the idiocy of some of the stuff that we have to deal with as gun owners in places like California, or in places where they don't even attempt to apply logic to the decisions or to the policies that they wind up supporting. And we're supposed to accept it like, oh, well, this just makes common sense. It makes common sense. I'm like, well, there's a reason why I've started referring to it as common nonsense, right? Common nonsense are those things that the left wing keeps stating as fact or as just normal thinking when it is not supported by fact, it's not supported by logic, it's just idiocy that you made up in your head because it makes you feel good. And I find that common sense is really not that common. That's the name of my company, Uncommon Sense.
Uncommon sense, right? There you go. Yeah. I like common nonsense. I like that too. I like them both. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it's kind of funny because I love talking about that because it comes from the quote. And I don't know if you remember Ronald Reagan saying this. He said, "It's not that our friends on the left don't know anything. It's just that so much of what they know isn't so."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. They know crap. That's what they know.
They know crap. Yes, they do, because it comes out of their mouth every day.
That's it. They just know a lot of nonsense.
A whole lot of nonsense. All right, folks. Well, hey, that brings us to our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Make sure to go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and get your discount today from Hog Holsters. All right, let's see here. In honor of our first story today, or our leading story today, I found it interesting that the NFL made it a point to say that Harrison Butker does not represent their values. This from the Babylon Bee. Harrison Butker does not reflect our values, says League of Women Beaters. That's a good
now,
one
is that
right
a
there.
league of women that beat them, or is that women that beat a league?
Well, when you consider how many NFL stars or NFL athletes have been either arrested for domestic violence, yeah, that's what they're talking about. Because notice the NFL doesn't do any statements about anything like that.
Here you go, sir. Here's your testosterone. Here's your steroids. Go out there, and we want you to beat people to death. But when you go home, you should keep that temper down to like a puppy.
There you go. Now, this next one is kind of sports related. It more has to do with Sports Illustrated. Now, Mike, do you remember back when we were kids, when we were young, You remember the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue used to be like, oh, wow, right? Like, wow, that was really something you looked forward to, right? Because these were some very, very shapely and attractive women. Well, unfortunately, they're shapely now. I don't know that I would necessarily call them attractive, but it definitely makes you say, wow. It says here, Sports Illustrated goes bankrupt trying to provide enough catering to cover their model shoot.
I'm afraid to look. What's the picture? I don't want to look.
Oh, it's catering trays. They would not do that to you, Mike.
Oh, okay. I'm actually all right now. I actually like the picture.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. And then finally, there was a, following the record-breaking, and I feel comfortable calling it record-breaking, event that Trump held, the big event that he held in New Jersey, where they had an estimated about a little under 100,000 folks there. There was another one that was held, and this one though was for Joe Biden. And according to the Babylon Bee, it's a small town warns that due to Biden rally today, traffic will be significantly lighter than usual.
Much, much lighter. Just watch out for old people wandering the streets. There'll be one more silver alert than normal,
I honestly don't know anybody who is excited about voting for Joe Biden. And if I did, I don't know how. I would look at them in amazement and I would see, okay, how bad are they at faking it?
I think they would be welcome at my house on Punch Thursday.
There you go. Well said. All right, folks. Well, before we go, we got to do one more thing. You know what that is. We got to give another quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Now you get rifle and pistol caliber barrels and rifle and pistol, any rifle and pistol caliber you want, any length you desire for your next AR rifle or pistol build. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting that good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take from California's future today. And if you're looking for tactical gear, field gear, hunting gear, just any kind of outdoor gear that you need, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors following the link in the description to this program. Make sure you tell them the guys over at the Rundown sent you. Now, this time for real. Tomorrow, we will be back on Freedback Friday. We call it Freedback Friday. We used to call it Freedback. Now it's just Free for All Friday. But we're going to have a good time celebrating the beginning of the weekend, the end of the hostage situation. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.